So good evening, good evening, good evening. And tonight on Make Some Noise, we have some awesome company here. We're going to be talking about theme parks. What does a theme park mean to you, and what kind of experience have you had there? I'm sure it's been amazing and very, very positive. And we've got the people behind the scenes who's going to tell you what they did and actually what they do now and what they're going to be doing in the future. So let's get them in without further ado. There's Johnny. How you going, sir? Michelle.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Alistair.
Hi.
And Steve. So maybe who wants to go first? Maybe I'll leave Johnny to last, but Michelle. So I just might zoom in. So Michelle actually trained Sophie Monk how to be Marilyn Monroe back in the day. So I'll just let you do your little intro there, Michelle, about who you are and what you do.
Sure. Well, back in the day, long time ago now, I actually left movie world in 2001, but I was out there for about 8 years and started out in as a rides presenter, and then moved into audition for the singing and acting type stuff, atmosphere acting type stuff. And yeah, so I was Marilyn Monroe, I was Madonna, I was Tina Turner, I did the Western show out there, some stuff in the Police Academy show, and just all around. I did Bugs Bunny for a little while. I did a bit of everything. So I was definitely out there for a decent amount of time, and then since then I've just moved. Sort of did a lot of performing for a lot of years, and then now I own my own entertainment agency where I book lots of entertainment for sometimes for theme parks, funnily enough, and big corporate events and festivals and things like that. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming along tonight, and we'll unpack more about what you do and where you're at. And Alistair here. So Alistair has actually you've worked for Australia and Japan Movie World and Warner Brothers, and you were right behind the 2020 mateship Anzac situation where everyone actually comes out onto the driveway and does their thing. Is that right?
Yes, Anzac Day, as everyone would have experienced this year, was very different. And when I found out that there was the Driveway at Dawn campaign, which was a social media campaign, a whole bunch of people behind that. As a musician, I thought, how can we support that? How can we bring Anzac Day to the people? And Music for Mateship was the idea that I came up with. And over the space of a few weeks, with some incredible help, including James Morrison, we mobilised tens of thousands of musicians to be playing The Last Post in their street and at aged care facilities, and basically trying to make Anzac Day a thing this year, and using the incredible power of music to remind people how important Anzac Day was and is to our culture. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember reading that Anzac Day hasn't been like that ever. Is that correct? Like it's never been cancelled, has it? I can't remember. I remember reading somewhere in history.
I don't think it's ever been cancelled. I think large gatherings may have been cancelled in places like Sydney and Melbourne in the last 5 or 6 years, with a bomb scare or something like that.
Oh, wow.
I think there was a period of time after World War I had finished, so maybe the late teens, the early 20s, where the Spanish
flu. That's probably right. Yeah.
Epidemic, and I think they cancelled large gatherings, but in country towns and stuff, who knows? But yeah, this year was very unusual. But I had so much support from musicians around the country. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, and it's very significant because Aussie Spirit in endorsing that. Well done, sir.
Yeah. Thanks, mate. Thank you.
And we're going to go straight over to Steve now to do your intros. And Steve is actually actively working at SeaWorld right now, and he used to be the supervisor.
SeaWorld. I live in SeaWorld.
SeaWorld.
SeaWorld. You know how to get to SeaWorld, mate. SeaWorld.
And so I'll let you do your intros there, sir. There we go.
G'day. How are you going? And it's great to be here. And yeah, Alistair is right. The only time that Anzac Day had ever been previously cancelled was during funnily enough, the Spanish flu pandemic in 1918, straight after the war. And it was not long after the Spanish flu recovered that we were able to get it back into those large gatherings. But yeah, look, I worked at Movie World in the early 90s. I got there, spent about 8 years there working alongside Alistair and Michelle and John. Then I left for 13 years in the year 2000 to do real jobs. Got married, the whole bit, realised that real jobs are, you know what, they suck. They're not great. And I was in retail. I worked for Myer. I worked for a large clothing retailer called Rod and Gun. I did a number of things. I've also been an active stand-up comedian for over 20 years during that time simultaneously, and had a lot of fun and met a lot of great people and amazing people during that time. Had a massive insight into that. And then 2013, an opportunity came up to go back to the theme parks. And when I got back there, I realised this is where I'm home. And I did a course recently where someone asked me, why is it that you do what you do? At the moment, I'm at SeaWorld as a show announcer, the senior show announcer. So I do the dolphin show, the seal show. I actually wrote the seal show that's out there. So that's my baby and I love it. But they asked me, why is it that you do what you do? And the answer was essentially, fundamentally, it is who I am. And I realized that after time is that performing and being in front of people and being able to, whether it be in a comedy or a documentary style environment like the dolphin show is at SeaWorld, or just the small scale interaction with people, that's makes my heart smile. You know, it's who I am, it's what I love to do. And so thankfully I've got the opportunity to keep doing it. And from where possible, I'm 50 now, turning 51. So it's starting to get a bit old and fat, but I'm getting closer to that time.
Aren't we all?
I've got the COVID.
It's all experience.
I've got the COVID corpulence happening. The COVID corpulence is all good. But look, mate, I'm enjoying myself. And now I'm imparting what I've learned over years to the next generation. And I'm a bit sunburnt today because I've been out there all day training new guys, and it's been really good. So, yeah, a few people checking in. G'day, guys.
Yeah. Hey, Dom. How you going, Dom? That's Mr. Famadi. And we'll just go, we'll just finish intros. So we'll go straight to Johnny there. How you going, Sir John?
Hello, mate. How are you? Good to be on the program again.
Yeah, good. Thank you for coming.
Good night. Yeah. Now,
that's the best John Blunt performance I've ever seen.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, look, I started working out at Movie World, I think it was probably 1999, I think. And I must admit it was probably so surreal for me because I'd done bits and pieces in the industry, little cover bands and things like that. And I auditioned as Roy Orbison because they didn't have a Roy Orbison out there. And I got the gig and, it was just amazing. Like we walked into the green room and there was a guy that was doing all the Pizza Hut ads. And there was a guy, some other guy that was working there, was working in one of the soaps. And there was all these, full-time professional actors and singers and people that you'd see on TV on a regular basis and comedians and all that type of stuff. And it was a great job. I remember one time I was doing, I used to do Roy Orbison out there, Austin Powers, thanks to Alistair, because Alistair actually put the proposal in for Austin Powers. As I remember, he put this massive big proposal and said there's this movie coming out called Austin Powers. And I think, Alistair, if memory serves me, you said British Airways have made a plane or painted a plane for this movie, so it must be a big thing. So if it wasn't for Alistair and all the Austin Powers that are out there today, would not have. He was the one who pushed it, and funny enough,
character.
Yeah. Funny enough, Alistair.
That was just such a great character. I was living in London when that first movie came out, and I went to see it at the cinema, and it was like the Blues Brothers. It did very small cinema on the first movie. Not many people saw it, and I'd finished going to theatre school, and I came back to the Gold Coast and went straight back to Movie World and said, "You've got to get this character. This is hilarious." And they listened to me. It was a great character for theme parks.
Yeah. And what happened after that, Johnny? Oh, sorry, you go, Michelle.
Oh, actually, I just remembered this would be of relevance about the whole Freddie thing, and I've got to tell this story, John, and then I'm going to shut up after this. Don't worry. But so John actually had a bit of a crush on one of my friends, Tara, who worked out there, and
Not true. Not true.
that was it was a very innocent crush, but
He thought I was asexual.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not quite man, not quite woman.
No, you are asexual deviant.
Yeah.
But he was trying to impress her one day, and her and I were sitting on the couch in the green room, and he's just like, "Oh, here we go. I've got a little trick up my sleeve here." And he came out of the boys' change room with a towel around him only, and there was music playing on the radio, and so he's just got this water bottle and he's just poured it all over himself, and then he starts rubbing, like he's taking the piss, and he's rubbing it into his body like this. Oh,
Actually, wasn't taking the piss.
And he's like, rubbing it into his body. He's like, "You like that? Do you like that, girls?" And we are losing it. But anyway, then he totally goes ass up on the floor. It was all slippery because of all the water. He goes ass up and goes flat on his back. Luckily, he had underwear on underneath his towel. But we're all laughing. And anyway, the next song that came on the radio was Radio Gaga, funnily enough. So John goes into the green room and he paints a little mustache on, puts his Austin Powers teeth in, grabs the broom that was in our green room, grabs the broom and comes out and starts strutting as Freddie.
Wow.
Alistair would accompany me. Alistair would accompany me on his little traveller guitar. Remember that? He used to bring it to nobody knew why and nobody cared. And,
but at that point, the realization of John looking that much like Freddie, we're all just like, "Oh my God, this is insane." And at this
it was so much better than Elvis or Roy Orbison, that's for sure.
Well,
that's not needed. Uncalled for.
You look more like Roy than I look like Marilyn. But anyway, moving on. But yeah, so at this particular time, we were putting together, well, I wasn't putting together, the management were putting together this big Superstars show. And at that point, we said to our boss, like, "Have you seen Blunty as Freddie?" And funnily enough, some of the vocal, I don't know, like a little bit of the vibrato and some of the notes between Roy and Freddie weren't too far removed. So hearing John's voice up in that tone, we're all like, "You know what? You could completely sing this. Like we believe that you could sing like Freddie if you really gave it." And sure enough, the rest is history. And then they actually added John as Freddie into this show, and a heap of other performers who didn't look anything like Freddie.
Remember, sorry to cut you off. Remember Graham Moore when we were backstage one day, and I said, "Oh fuck, it's Alan Border."
It would have been better than when he used to get Daryl Summers when he was Tom Jones. But anyway, I just wanted to touch on that purely because that is where the whole Freddie situation, I think, maybe birthed itself, in the sense that from taking the piss and trying to
do a new character.
Yeah.
And I've been taking the piss ever since.
So when Michelle was describing him coming out in a towel and putting the water and doing that, if you've ever watched a David Attenborough documentary of a praying mantis cleaning itself, that's as bad as butch as it was. It was bad as butch as
Well, I can't remember it because after the fall I was concussed, so I don't remember any of that. And,
so you've been concussed for 40 years, man.
I do remember Alan Janner said I'd like to see it again. So
oh wow,
that, whatever.
I don't think we're allowed to go there.
So you guys, all of you are like professional comedians, is that correct? Or at some stage you've been professional comedian? Yes or no?
Well, it's funny because
not me.
Alistair,
well, Steve,
I'm trying to put it properly. Alistair was training as a mime, and he went over to France to.
Right.
He was
Charlie Chaplin.
I'm going to start this off by saying, "Oh, mate, and I'll be perfectly honest, apart from the fact that Alistair's got brown eyes and Charlie Chaplin had blue eyes, there is, and I've seen a few over time, an absolutely spitting
Oh.
and very accurate portrayal of Charlie Chaplin.
Yes.
And
Wow.
I've seen Al do some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen as a Charlie impersonator. I think, Al, you got shoes made that cost a fortune, that your tramp shoes that looked, oh, mate, I remember those. And I remember you bringing them in going, hey, guys, look at these shoes. They're amazing. And I go, they look like shit, Al. He goes, no, they can't look like shit. They cost me a fortune.
Alistair,
Alistair, sorry,
I was just gonna
spend hours getting his body right and getting out there, because mime is a very physical thing, and for the rest of us peasants, we used to watch around the green room and go, God, he's stretching the piss out of himself. I think he's taking the mickey, but no, it's just an absolute testament to the dedication that he had to do what it was that he did, and when he went out there on the street, it was always perfect. And that's the sad thing. Still being in the theme park industry now, there's so few people that have that dedication or just professionalism to do and put in the work that they need to do. They think it's all about them, and but I'm here. I'm a god. You know, it drives you nuts.
Right. In
work ethic.
Alistair,
that's
you're endorsed by the Charlie Chaplin estate. Is that correct?
Yeah, look, it was Charlie's been a great journey for me as a performer, and it all started at Movie World, and I think that's one of the great benefits of a theme park performing experience, is that it's basically an apprenticeship into the industry.
Very true.
For a lot of people in their 20s. I remember I was so blown away when I started at Movie World. That was 93. There were NIDA graduates. There was very high level stunt performers. There were singers, dancers. There was this wonderful arts community at the theme park, and for a lot of people, it was their apprenticeship. It certainly was for me, particularly with Charlie. I've been able to occupy that space for, coming up on 30 years, and it started at Movie World, and it's taken me all around the world, really. I was in Japan for a year and a half at Universal, and that was, gig of my life probably. But I've been approved for advertising by the Chaplin estate and things like that. So, look, I think for a lot of young performers, theme parks are a wonderful point of entry, and it's certainly something that I encourage young performers and even university graduates to have a look at in order to build and hone your skill set.
Yeah, that's really well.
I just want to touch on that, Doug, because Alistair said something very poignant there, which is that it's a great breeding ground and a great proving ground for yourself as a young and up-and-coming entertainer. However, what saddens me the most, being there now, is and I try my hardest, but look, hey, let's face it, I'm older than a lot of their parents, and I'm in their midst. But they don't understand that concept. They just don't grasp the concept that, hey, this is where you can hone your craft. When I started doing stand-up comedy with the Sit-Down Comedy Club in Brisbane.
That's where I've seen you before.
And I mentioned, well, I was very good. But when I was there was a guy running the show, Fideli Crisci, and he said to me, what are you doing working at Movie World? Why are you doing that? And it was a real derogatory thing. And I looked at him confused, and I said, mate, I'm performing every single day.
Yeah.
So you guys doing stand-up who work in a fruit shop or a shop or drive a cab or whatever. I'm performing and honing my craft every single day.
The experience.
So, and as a result, I was one of the very few in one particular year, 1997, there was myself and Damien Callanan, who's a prominent Melbourne comedian.
Yeah.
We were the only two to make the national finals of two big comedy competitions that year, one being Raw Comedy, which
Wow.
I came runner-up in. So,
Wow, congratulations.
you know,
Wow.
there's a lot of that. And thank you. And in hindsight, I probably should have moved to Melbourne, but I was headstrong, and I believe that no, whatever I do, it shouldn't matter where I do it, and yeah, you get that. But that's a really good point that Alistair made, is that I don't think people are getting the understanding that the theme park industry is such a good conduit for you to work, practice, hone your craft, so that when you do go to the auditions, and we give them plenty of leeway to go, they can do so much more and excel and hit the ground running instead of going like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
About that. I'm just going to drink.
And I know we sort of opened railroaded Johnny's intro. Is there anything other intro stuff you want to do? Say, Johnny?
No, I just let everybody else speak for me. It was great. No, all I wanted to say is that it was probably one of the best.
That's a first, guys.
Yeah. It was easily one of the best jobs I've ever had in my life. I remember walking to go out and perform. I was doing Austin on the day, and I was pretty crook. I had a Vicks nasal spray in my pocket, and I had throaties, and I was really, really sick. And it just dawned on me, like, I've actually come to work sick, because any other job I would have woken up and sneezed and said, "Not coming in today. I've got pneumonia. Probably be in a couple of weeks' time." You know when you love a job, when you're turning up crook as a dog. But no, I thoroughly enjoyed it and met some wonderful people there, and they're here with us tonight on the panel. Alistair's the godfather of my eldest daughter, and Steve has come to all of my christenings and all the rest of it. Michelle, I was the bridesmaid at her wedding.
That's awesome.
Well, we had a pact. We had a pact. Michelle said, "If I get married,
Yes.
I want you to be the bridesmaid." And I said, "Well, if I get married, I'd like you to be the groomsman." And so I haven't fulfilled my end yet, but you never know. You never know what might happen. But yeah, the only thing that I didn't like was the dress.
The dress.
You got married already?
It wasn't your colour.
Chafing on me, and I wasn't used to it. And the high heels. I did an ankle that day. So, but no, I enjoyed it.
Didn't think it through.
Fair
Did
enough.
not think it through. Did not.
I'd
think
just
it
like
through.
to say that someone just during that chat just said they were, "Good night, Doug. I'm going back to sleep." So it's good to see that we are keeping the people
Good.
engaged.
Oh,
And-
they're from America. She's from America.
Oh,
Yeah.
no excuse.
She's
No,
in Indiana.
We don't need to know.
Just
All
like
right.
we are keeping them. We're really sucking them right in here.
Riveted.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that question. Oh, actually, it says, how do people apply to work at theme parks? So maybe Michelle, do you want to maybe answer that?
Yeah, I think generally they advertise. Now it's changed. It used to be in the paper, but now I'd imagine if you're following their socials and things like that online, they would post when they're having auditions or applications. But I don't really think there's a fast-tracked way to do it. Even knowing people.
I can tell you right.
Oh, there you go. Of course, yeah.
We've got we've got some that have come up straight away, like today.
Mm-hmm.
Because we open up tomorrow at SeaWorld.
Yeah.
Wow.
How long has it been locked
I
down
found out
for,
10
Stevie?
days ago.
How long has SeaWorld been locked down for?
96 days.
Wow.
Not that I've been counting.
Not you accounting.
96 days.
Okay.
And
It's the only one I knew which bloody day it was.
So with the auditions, Steve.
Second.
With the auditions, are you expecting a video audition or an audible audition, or is it just fill out your name and address and they see you in person?
First of all, you apply, you send in your. They used to do it just through Seek. Now they're starting to do it through a few others now, and which is great for us because we start to get a few more people coming through. I think the last audition that I held for announcers, we ended up having to run it over 2 days in 4 sessions. We had a lot of people come through, which was great because we got some real quality coming through, and we managed to get proper actors. I've got 2 people that I hired the last time round. One's studied in New York as a film and live actor, and the other girl is a mum of 3. You wouldn't pick it to look at her, the bitch. She's hot, but she is a very, very, like, she's a great actor, and film, television, and live. So yeah, she's great, and that was so heartening for us. So it's all live. The auditions are live. You don't send in anything. You can send in some supplementary stuff like your headshots, your actual, if you've got a show reel, you can send that in. But ultimately, on the day, we will send them out then some scripts, and they come in and perform those scripts to us. We'll then give them some notes to say, all right, let's see how you handle direction. And boom, away they go. And that's all we want, is somebody that can be able to respond and accept and handle the notes in a professional manner, and not be precious to go, well, to be fair, my mum said I'm really good. And so I'm just going to go with what mum said. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I think
look, just keep your eye on the job sites.
Cool.
And didn't you say, Steve, the 4th person to audition this week was Sam Newman? So that's
sorry, mate, you're breaking up a bit.
That's let go from Channel 9.
You're breaking up, and you're an idiot.
We've all got to work. We've all got to work.
So
I might be single, but you can't do that to me.
So Michelle, if we just go around, and Alice will be next. So maybe in person, or maybe on one of the gigs in the theme park, do you have a rock and roll story of a complete fail, or a railroad train wreck? Railroad train wreck. I can't believe I put those 2 words in the same sentence.
During a show, look,
epic fail doing a show.
Well, yes, and John Blunt is responsible for it.
This is ridiculous.
So we used to do this show called Lunch with the Legends, and I was performing Marilyn, and John was Roy Orbison on this particular day. So he had teed up with the sound guy, who was also a major prankster, that John's mic would be live through my fold back, but not front of house. So whilst I was singing, John could be audible for me, but not to the rest of the audience. So during my first little stint as Marilyn in this particular show, and this particular song that I was singing consisted of mainly vocals, and there was a few little accents here and there, and it was very, very, very spread out musically, because a lot of it was just a lot of little vocal runs. So basically I've come out and gone, hey everyone, da, 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 da. And then I bent over to say something, and then this massive fart noise just resonates across the entire stage. And normally I'm really quite good at, actually, no, I'm kidding myself. I'm not that good, but normally a lot better than I was on this day at regaining my composure. But on this particular day, every time I'd go to sing, I'd lose it. And, this music is not helping me out. It wasn't. And the dancers are just kind of like, oh, what do we do? And I finally got it back together. And one of the dancers beside me has just gone, just effing sing like this. And I'm gone again. And I've absolutely lost it. And then we had another mutual friend who had this insane laugh. Like, it was the funniest laugh you've ever heard, Candy. So just as I've turned my back, I'm shaking. There's nothing happening. There's very little music. It's just the whole audience going, what is going on? And then I've just started to go, well, my heart belongs. And then I just hear this at the window of this friend of ours gone. Basically, it was all over. And then the prank continued because the sound tech who had obviously John Weavy's Magic. They then called the acting park supervisor to call me into the office and say that I was in a lot of trouble, because there'd been some massive complaints. So this is someone who'd never even received a written warning. So yes, basically my position was in jeopardy, and et cetera, et cetera. And they let me sit on that for about an hour. Yeah, before I got called back in. Just kidding. Anyway, it was for me the moment in time where if a stage could have swallowed me up, I knew how bad this situation was, and to the audience just what a WTF this whole situation was. But I had nothing. So thanks, Jono.
I'm here to supply lots of lols.
And what about, thank you, Michelle. And what about Alistair? What about an epic fail or some tricks that you've been involved in?
I think I had a very grounding moment years ago at Movie World when I was Robin. It was the Batman and Robin. I'm not really Robin. I'm not really Robin. The suit was massive. It was about a 3 or 4 mil wetsuit with rubber panel over the top. So it was about 20 kilos of stuff, right? That's a significant percentage of my body weight. Anyway,
if you can imagine C3PO as Robin.
Yeah. Well,
highbrow Robin. I'm going to just going to the ladies' room, the boys' room.
It was in direct sunlight, and we had a Batman at the time was had a few lifestyle decisions that he'd make before work, and he was fairly quiet, so I'd have to sort of carry the show, and I was sweating so much. This little boy came over for a photo. And you've got all this black makeup, and it's all dripping all through my head, it's dripping off, and it's landing on this poor little boy's head. This is his dream moment, right? Meeting Batman and Robin, and this boy's copying it, and eventually, looking out, and it's just dripping off me. I'm trying to position him for a photo, and he said to his mum, "Mummy, why is Robin crying?" And I was maybe crying on the inside at that moment. That was a moment here in Australia, and there's plenty of other ones. My funniest moment, which was a recurring moment in Japan, was the fact that Japanese they can't do a raspberry. They can't make that noise like Michelle's fart noise that you just referenced. That's not in their cultural bag of tricks. So as chaplain in Japan, my running gag, especially for groups of schoolboys, they'd come in all dressed in their school uniform, very neat, and I'd usually try and figure out who was at the back of the group or who wasn't the alpha, and right. I'd usually they're very good with following commands. I just used to point to them and do this, which means come here, and then if they made eye contact, the boy would go, "Eh?" and they'd point to their nose, which means, "Are you talking to me?" And I'd go, "Come here," and invariably they would, and they'd come over, and the group would be watching because Charlie Chaplin just called you, the low status guy out of our group, over to talk to him, and I used to I'd bring them here and say, I'm about to tell you a secret, sort of body language, and they'd lean in, and I'd go like that, and of course they don't know what that sound is, and so they'd always do the massive reaction of "Eh?" and all of their mates would be saying in Japanese, "What did he say? What did he say?" And the guy can't do it, so he'd be there going, "Yeah." And
sometimes you do it with your mouth as well.
The group would be looking at him going, "What did he say?" And you'd do it again. You'd look at the group and go, "This guy's a numbskull." Come in again. You make a noise. He can't do it because it's not a thing. And so
wow,
he'd be trying to tell his mates the sound that I made, which doesn't exist.
Wow.
Anyway, and they would get mad at him because they thought that I told him something really shocking or important.
And he wouldn't relay it.
Oh, that was a running gag. That was a running source of incredible amusement and a lot of fun.
Very good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. And what about Steve? What about an
Actually,
epic
Doug,
fail?
one of
Yeah.
the,
Oh, sorry. You go.
oh, no, I was going to say, if you talk about epic fails, mate, I've got a seat with my name on it in the Human Resources Department, and still to this day. I'm there every fucking week. But two things. One that I've got to say that is one of the funniest things I've ever seen Alistair do as a Charlie Chaplin. It was in a Police Academy stunt show warm-up, so pre-show thing. We had a very full stadium. And now when Al did Charlie for the pre-show warm-up, he put on like a police outfit. And Al had a very subtle gag that not a lot of people got. I loved it, but not a lot of people got, where he had 3 stripes on one shoulder and only 2 on the other, which meant that I'm a sergeant. Look at me. Oh, turn around. I'm just a corporal. But nobody really got that too much. But we had a full stadium packed out. So 2,500 people in this venue. The last couple of people came in, and it was, and I've got to try and be politically correct because that is, I'll tell you now, that's foreign to me, being politically correct.
All right.
But there was a woman who was vast, and her husband was the opposite of vast. He was quite a slim little fella. Anyway, she had this massive bucket of popcorn, and I'm talking like a massive bucket of popcorn. And Al's looked down the line, and he's just looked up and gone, "Oh, thank you, Jesus." Prayed to the comedy gods. And he's talking through a whistle. So his only form of communication was a whistle and hand gestures. And he's told them to come down, beep, 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 come down, beep, 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 beep. And then as they got close to him, he went, "Stop," grabbed the bucket of popcorn off the woman, looked at her and chastised her through the whistle, gave it to the skinny bloke, and patted him on the back like, "Oh, there you go, mate. There you go, mate. There you go." We were all just, the whole venue just erupted in buckets of laughter. It was bloody brilliant.
You couldn't do that nowadays, could you?
Oh no! Oh,
No.
Oh my God, no!
No.
That was one of the funniest things I've seen. But in terms of like one of those moments where everything just falls to hell. We were doing the opening of the Batman Forever movie. So we had a premiere, and Movie World had flown out Joel Schumacher and
who just passed away.
Chris O'Donnell came out, and Tommy Lee
passed
Jones
away
came
about
out.
24 hours ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now there was 2 of us playing the Riddler. There was 2 of us playing Batman and Robin. There was 2 of us playing Two-Face. I was playing Two-Face at the time. Now, to put this in context, I'm 5'7.5" on a good day, right? Tommy Lee Jones played the role of Two-Face. Tommy Lee Jones is probably closer to 7 foot than he is to 5'7.5". But they did the whole thing. I was on a float with 2 very young girls at the time playing Sugar and Spice. Donna Stubberfield, who was also a Donna Cooper at the time, and Tiffany. Anyway, I did the bit on the float. Normally I was up on the rooftop, so I was never seen. But this one night, the other guy that did Two-Face was crook, and he was pissed off. Anyway, so I'm down mingling with these girls. And as I've turned around, and I've got a half latex mask and face paint, and half of me is normal to be depicting Two-Face. And I've turned around, and I've literally straight into the chest of this man. And I've looked up, and there's this guy that's got a head that is just immense. And it's Tommy Lee Jones, who played Two-Face. And he's a good like head and a half taller than me. And I've looked up at him, and all I could say was, "Now that's great casting," and just kept walking. And I was like, I didn't want to meet him. I was like, I've got to get out of here. Here's this midget version of yourself in the movie, and I just kept walking and going.
Oh my
so
God.
good.
But yeah, look, we've all had some absolute car crashes, and when I was out in the park as Beetlejuice, I remember doing something that I thought was so cool. And I've gone to jump over this park bench in the middle of the park, and my foot slipped, and I've scraped my entire shin down the front or down the back of this park bench, and had to spend the next 40 minutes out in the park with a bleeding shin in incredible agony, going, "Hey, look at me, I'm Beetlejuice." And yeah, not cool, but mate,
Okay,
the
that's
things
cool.
that I could tell you that are real car crashes, I don't think I'm allowed to tell you
Different
that.
show, different show, buddy.
Different.
You're
And what about
still on the payroll.
I
Johnny?
don't know how, right?
What about Johnny?
Oh, I had, there was always moments where, as much as we love the job, some of it became a bit mundane, especially when you've just got to stand out there and do your photo shoot things. We enjoyed every aspect of it, but sometimes, towards the end of the day, you're sort of thinking, oh, gee, this is dragging on a bit. But the one thing I do remember, we had a mutual friend called Tiffany, and she would do Marilyn Monroe. And she, towards the end of the day, was probably thinking, this is, looking forward to going home. It's been the photo shoots is massive queues to get a photo shoot. So I think to entertain herself, Tiffany would often, with the Asian guests, knowing that none of them speak English, when they would come in for the photograph, she would say things like, "Look at you, you could be a nude model. You look wonderful." And they go, "Oh, thank you." And she would always do things just having fun and harmless fun. But, and one day I think she said to one of the Asian guests that came in she said, "Oh, I bet you'd go off in the sack," or whatever it was she said. She'd always do it. We always had fun because none of them really spoke English. I remember this guy just looked at her and he said, "I'm a fifth generation Australian, and I do go off in the sack. And what's your number?" And I remember that day, Tiffany went, "I'm never doing that again."
Yes. No.
But just recently,
a photo. Oh, sorry, Jono.
No, I was just going to say, just recently, we Killer Queen, we did a show at Airlie Beach. It was for a fundraiser, and we were the headlining act. And before the act, or before us, I should say, there was a dance school young kids group, whatever you, bunch of young kids that danced. And one of their routines that they did, they had all these little prop microphones, and they must have been sort of singing in it when they were dancing and whatever. I didn't see their rehearsals, but just at the last minute, one of the mums said, I don't think the prop microphones look any good. There was, I think, about 7 of these little girls, and one of the mothers said, "Can we just replace them with real microphones? Because it'll look better, and the props aren't great. And if they're holding real microphones, it may look as though they're actually singing into them." And the sound guy said, yeah, that's fine. So he did all that. And anyway, they remarked the stage, and then we came on. And something happened horrifically bad, that none of the microphones worked for our entire set. So I was getting all different types of microphones getting passed up to me that often that I thought the next person that passes me a microphone will be Kathy Freeman. Because it felt like I was
in a relay.
Yeah. And
did you have the toy microphones?
Well, I reckon they may have worked. But it was the most embarrassing. It's the first time where my entire face felt like it was on fire, and the poor sound guy, it was what a stupid thing to do. Just let them have their prop microphones, but. It just got to the stage where I was always taught, even if things are falling down around you, you just keep on going. And I just said, I had to yell out because my microphone didn't work. I had to say, "I'm sorry, guys, we're having a few technical difficulties. We'll be right back." We go back on about 20 minutes later, and it's worse. My microphone's in the drum feed, and I just thought I have to plow through this. It was horrible. That was probably last year. But the thing about it is when people ask you for these, train wreck stories, a lot of the times I think we just delete them from our mind because we don't ever want to remember them.
But look, everything, and for the listeners, everything that has been talked about tonight in terms of bad gigs or forgettable elements of working for theme parks is we're talking about a handful of shows that are part of hundreds of shows or even thousands of shows. I was involved with Police Academy, as was Steve, and they did over 10,000 shows. It was one of the longest running stunt shows in the world, and certainly in Australia at the time.
Years? How many years?
How many years? They opened in 91 through to 2001.
Oh.
It's only just recently.
Way longer, yeah.
It's only just recently.
Yeah.
Years.
Look, they did well over 10,000 shows. Police Academy Sunshine, well over 10,000 shows.
And I guess coming back to just what we talked about before in terms of an entry point into the industry and the idea of it being an apprenticeship, you get to do your show over and over and over. You get to do your show 2, 3, 4 times a day, which people in if you're doing a theatre show, you do 6 or 8 shows a week, or if you're doing a big musical, you do 8 shows a week, depending on what cast you're in and things like that. So it's a chance for you to develop that professionalism of, like John says, of if anything goes wrong, just keep going.
Yeah.
Acknowledge your audience. Own the mistake, even if it's not yours. Just acknowledge that. Yep, and keep going, because these things usually sort themselves out. So I think in terms of building professionalism and being able to do the same thing hundreds or thousands of times and still keeping it fresh, I think that's a great skill for young performers.
So I want to move on to thank you for doing that. That's a great segue into mentorship. So maybe Michelle, if you go first, did you find working in this space, did you find any cool mentors, not just in the acting world, maybe in the business world, because I know you run an events company now. Yeah, was there being exposed to all sorts of different personality types? Did that influence who you are today?
Oh, absolutely. I think where the guys have touched on earlier too, just in our day, we were so blessed to have been surrounded by people that have now gone on to forge absolutely incredible careers in their field. And I feel like just conversation daily within our green room, there was some mind-numbing stuff, but there was definitely some really inspiring conversation that did happen, and the things that people were doing outside of the green room, which, I know I definitely took a lot from. And it is lovely, like Al was saying and Steve was saying as well, I now get to move through and be for upcoming performers what, I do remember a lot of performers who had been at Movie World longer than me. I remember going from being a rides presenter to moving over into the show and entertainment department. And when you were within the theme park, that was a massive deal. Like, to get into show and entertainment was everything. And I remember those personalities that took me under their wing and really mentored me through all of that, and how to, really be a better performer and be more confident and all of that sort of stuff, because I definitely needed it at that time in my life. So now I love that in my field, I get to work with the younger generation, and as Steve was saying, potentially teach them the work ethic that I think a lot of them have never been. Yeah, because it is very, very different now. And a lot of the time when I'm employing people and paying them good money, it's like I'm really honoured to have the opportunity to employ them. Whereas in our day, you know, we never said no to anything. It was like, okay, we've got this gig for you. It's, you know, $50 and it's at a school graduation, as John was talking about earlier. But you're like, but it's yes, you know, it's I'm working all day, but it's a yes, because every little opportunity is adding up to be the performer that you are. And Doug, I touched earlier before we went live was, you know, even just the amount of technical difficulties that happen being in a theme park when you are doing show after show after show. I mean, it's, you know, not even human error. It's also, you know, equipment failure and all the rest of it. But I can honestly say as a singer, I can now jump up on any stage through any shitty PA system with no fallback, with people farting in my fallback. No kidding. Whatever it may be, nothing scares me because
no bum notes.
I've encountered it, but yeah, nice. There it is. But yeah, like I feel like there was nothing that once I moved out of
that's
there.
a really good point, Doug. Sorry to interrupt. That's a really good point, because having been there with these guys and then coming back now, one of the things I'm noticing is the biggest interference within their professional growth is the bloody phone.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you
They
more.
are so
They're obsessed
addicted
with
to their damn phones.
Yeah,
and they don't
They're
get
not
it
present.
anymore.
They're not present.
Like, we
and
used to
performance
entertain
is
each
about
other.
how many likes
We
you
used
get.
to
So we just got out into the theme park and did a
No.
show, and we did it for our own enjoyment and the audience out there. Now it's
Yeah.
like I have to post it, I have to see how many likes I get, and then everything you do
No.
has now got a different sentiment because you know you're trying to put it out to a broader audience. And Steve is so right in that you even go, and the difference, you know, I was talking about that camaraderie within our day and being in a green room and spending hours and hours and hours together. You know, that camaraderie has now disappeared because now on events that I put on and shows, I come back into the green room and no one's talking. Everyone's on their phone. No one's communicating. There's no camaraderie. No one's on stage performing together. It's like I'm out there for me.
I know. It's crazy. And I see that now. Like, they can't wait to get the now pattern is they can't wait to get off stage. Like they want to finish the show as quickly as they can
to check in
out of their costume and get back onto their bloody phones. And it's crazy.
It's good for people like us to.
I missed out on.
Yeah.
Whereas we used to entertain each other. I mean, when you talk about the camaraderie, mate, can I tell you now that the most entertainment that ever happens or happened in a theme park in the early 90s to the 2000s happened in the damn green room where we were entertaining each other. And we kept ourselves buoyant and motivated and floating. So when we went out for our particular run, even though the others weren't coming, we were up, man. We were ready, and we get out in the street and we were on.
Because you're already warmed up. Yeah.
My job was meant to be 12 months. I was meant to be
as a supervisor. I'm sitting there going, guys, you're adding like 5 minutes. What the hell? And they're like, we'll get there. Yeah, it's okay. It's like, no, you've got to go out there, stand there and make some kid happy. And you're pissing and moaning about it? What the? You know, that's what upsets me the most about the current climate.
But Doug, just finishing with me, I was just about to say, I was only going to take the job for 12 months because I was actually doing a uni degree and I was deferring for 12 months and I'd come up from Sydney and I just saw it in the paper and I thought, I'll just go do that and have a year off. And then 8 years later, because of exactly what Steve was saying, you know, I didn't want to leave because I was having so much fun. But now I actually employ a lot of the guys that are working at the theme parks and the stories that I hear are very, very different. They're all sort of like just, I'm just there because it's, you know, it's not like that old school. But anyway.
Well, what about, sorry, you go, Johnny.
I just wanted to say, I personally believe that the children are our future. Let them grow.
Teach them well. Yeah.
And let them lead the way.
You could show them all the beauty they possess. Yeah.
Inside. Exactly.
Inside.
So, I mean, I just come
is
up with that.
Is that bubbles over your shoulder?
Yeah. What about Alistair?
Bubbles sitting above your shoulder there. It sort of looks like a Buddha, but I'm pretty sure that's bubbles.
Bubbles.
So, what about Alistair? About mentorship? Like, did you get influenced for your musical career, like what you were saying before?
Oh, look, I was fortunate to have some older people be a very positive influence when I started, and now that generations have gone on, I try and be the person that I would have liked young me to have experienced.
Right.
Yeah. So I think we all have a duty of care as mid-career artists to mentor and to try and guide entry career artists, because that's what happened to us, right? So almost all of the mentoring experiences were highly positive. It teaches you about, as Michelle said, about work ethic. I did whatever I needed to do to pay the bills, and I was very aware of the relationship, the contract that exists between the performer and the audience.
Yeah.
That's your contract. If you mess that up, if you're self-indulgent because you're not really present for whatever reason, we've talked about, Gen Zs or whatever, millennials playing on their phones, and it totally is a thing. But if you're not present for your audience is not going to enjoy it. They're not going to come back. So
It's funny.
you have to honor that contract. And yeah, I was fortunate to have really, really good mentors, not only at Movie World, but in other sort of artistic spheres as well. And yeah, I always look now for young people who are able to talk about what they do. If someone tells me they're an actor, I go, okay, maybe you are. And I will usually start a conversation with them, and I'll ask them who inspires them or what techniques they're influenced by or use. If they're into movies, I'll ask what directors they.
That's a good one. Yep.
Yeah, if they're into theatre, we might talk about what role they'd love to do or what space they'd like to work in. And if they can't have that conversation, if it's a Paris Hilton level conversation of, it's just it's about Instagramming myself. It's about Instagramming myself, pretending to do something. Well, you're actually acting, pretending to be a performer. You're not even. We all understand that performing isn't real. There's a conceit. There's an artifice about being a performer, and we all get that. But you're not even an actual performer. You're pretending to be a performer because you're doing it for Instagram or you're doing it for some nefarious, external validation. You need to be able to talk about your art form. To me, that's a deal breaker. If you can't talk about your art form, you're not an artist. Full stop.
Yeah, it's similar to when I worked for Apple. This is a little while ago. The opening line was, "Tell me about your favorite movie," and it wasn't about the content at all. What it was about was the expression.
Yeah.
If I can talk to you and get you to feel what I'm feeling and use just as, and I saw this movie and it was really, really big, and draw you into my story, that's the people they want, because passion has already been hatched on the inside out. It's not going to try and get built in.
Interesting.
And you're also talking about narrative, the ability to deliver and generate narrative.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
If you think about it as an elevator, you've jumped in an elevator, someone jumps in with you, and they've recognised you, and they say, "Hey, I've got this great idea. Let me tell you about you. Let me tell you about me." You've got until you get to the ground floor. If they can't tell you what their passion is or what their style is or where they want to be in that time, you've lost them or they've lost you. And you just be like, yeah, good on you. Thank you. I'm out. It's that sort of thing. And that's why I love, that approach of, so tell me what it is about you. And that's why when we were talking backstage, earlier, is like, why is it that I do what I do? Because intrinsically, it's who I am. Yeah. And yes, apparently Rod Mills does know Paris. But
Quite
thank you.
well.
I was just
Quite
bringing
well,
up Paris
apparently.
Mills.
Mm.
So, Steve, mentor, what about, obviously you're at the other end of it now, but, actually, hello,
Yeah.
Emma. I think she's in Alabama, actually.
Emma's running hot tonight.
Yes. So, did you find someone who mentored you back in the early days that you aspired to be? Did someone actually
Not so
show
much
you?
well, back then there was no one that actually mentored me. Back then we had self-awareness because we didn't have the phones and all that sort of stuff. And so I found my own role models that I modeled. For me, being a comedian or wanting to do stand-up, Billy Connolly, Mike Myers, those sort of people were the ones that I really
That's
admired.
awesome.
And what I would do would go, okay, I love what they do. How can I do what they do as me rather than trying to mimic them? And that was the big thing. And I was very fortunate when we launched the first Austin Powers movie at Warner Brothers Movie World. I got to meet Mike Myers.
Oh,
And
wow.
I had a chat with him. Oh, dude, look, honestly, that was one of my great moments. And I got to talk to him and I said, hey, listen, all the best with you, man. And he said, no, all the best for you too. And I said, dude, I'm just working. And he goes, so am I. And I went, there you go. So at a promo, he was still doing his thing, but it was great to have a chat with him, not just as the superstar, but also as a human. And I've been fortunate through my comedy career to meet a few people that I really respect. And some of them have made me feel quite sad. And some of them have made me feel like, yeah, man, I'm pumped. Anthony Aykroyd,
Great Tommy.
Moen, and but no, hated him, loved him on stage. Met him in person. I'm like, oh, you're a jerk, man.
Really?
Jamoan, I couldn't stand him. Anthony Aykroyd is literally a mouse, but his on stage persona is so big. Paul McDermott, I was gutted when I met him, but yet you get a guy like Bob Franklin, Pommy Johnson, Gary Hu, and guys like
New Zealand.
but just a few of the others where you just go, you guys are great. I love what you guys are doing, and I love the fact that you are humans on the other side of it without, sort of shrinking into your shell. And so those were kind of my role models. I didn't have anyone that took me under their wing and said, hey, buddy, I'm going to show you what you should do. I watched each of these guys do their thing, and I watched a whole heap of other people do their thing. And I went, okay, I like that. Why do I like it? I like it because of X, Y, and Z. Why don't I like it? Okay, so if that was you doing that, what would you do differently? Carl Barron. I have met Carl Barron, Bruce, and lovely bloke. The saddest part about Carl Barron, he had to go overseas to make his name before people in Australia would recognise him, and that really hurt me. So, there's some great people out there when we do need real people. We need people that can get out there, do their thing, and be who they are. And I think as performers, and we're all very much in the same boat, we do give a part of our soul in every single performance we do, but we get it back from the audience. And
Yes,
that's what fulfills us.
That's well
Stevie,
said, yeah.
you'll be happy to know.
We can make a sacrifice.
Stevie,
I'm
you'll be happy to know that I met Robin Williams back in
Wow.
the day, and I worked with Robin.
I saw that. Oh,
Yeah,
that killed
and
me.
you'll be so happy to know that killed me as well, because I just love him so much. And I was told that I was going to be looking after him on this event, and I nearly died. I was like, oh my God. You will be happy to know that he was the most incredible man to work with. He asked me my name, and he would say, thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. And he'd say, oh, have they organised this? Thank you, Michelle. And at the end of the night, when quite a few hours had passed, and I'm like, he's not going to remember my name. There's no way known. And at the end of the night, I said, Robin, I'm so sorry to ask this, and I feel like a real little fangirl, but I am. Is there any chance I could grab a photograph with you, just so I'll always have this memory, because it's been such an honour to work with you? And he said, Michelle, it'd actually be my honour. And he said, please come and give me a hug. And he
Wow.
gave me the most beautiful, warm, bear hug. And he said, thank you so much for looking after me. And I just went, oh, my God, like, I wanted you to be like this, but you're even better than I can imagine. So I just wanted to tell you that, because I figured you would love him being, you know, in the comedy world. But he was just divine.
I remember seeing that photo that you posted of that. And
Me too.
I think I even posted on there, you complete and utter bitch.
Yeah.
Because that would be absolutely,
Isn't that lovely?
You know,
And I'm so
Yeah.
And I felt that way with Mike
glad I dropped you know, this is not the right thing to do. Like, I don't normally do it. Like, I don't like to do it when I'm in that position, because it makes you look like you're just there because you want to, you know.
But I think,
Wow.
Aussies are reticent.
Circle is the professionalism.
Yeah, Aussies are reticent to do that. That's why so-called famous people in Australia, they don't get bugged. You know, you grow a beard or put a hat and some sunnies on, and no one really recognises you, and no one gives you a hard time. And I think we're all performers. We're not on Robin Williams level, but we understand that. Yeah, it's not really the dumb thing, but we're all trying to be subtle and tactful, and go and pick our moment and go, I think the moment is now. You know, it's at the end of the, it's not at the beginning. It's not an Instagram moment at the beginning of the year when you've got no relationship,
no rapport.
and you haven't done anything. Yeah.
Do you know what was most interesting about that
Yeah.
meeting? Sorry, Stevie. Is it was actually for a high rollers event, and they are very spoilt with a lot of entertainment, and they didn't really laugh, and I was absolutely gobsmacked. I was standing down the back of the room. He did drop the C-bomb about 2 sentences in, and there are a lot of middle-aged ladies in the room, so I was like, I don't know, maybe that was it. But anyway, it didn't go as well as what you would have expected, you know. And when we came off stage, he was, you know, that doubt. He's like, Michelle, he's like, what did I do wrong? He said, was that really bad? Was that? And it was just really humbling to see a man of Robin Williams' talent and stature asking me what he did wrong and questioning his gig and his performance. I was like, okay, this is everyone.
Real.
Like, even when you're at that level, you're still questioning, you know.
He's still honouring the contract. The contract between the artist and the audience. He's still honouring it, even at that level.
Yeah. Well, we might finish this question off with Johnny. Okay.
Yeah, so go for it, mate.
Oh, well, okay.
I was going to say, we've all had those gigs where I've done the same gig 2 nights in a row, and literally the same set, word for word, 2 nights in a row. One night is sucked, one night is slayed. It's just the audience. You just can't pick it. It's just the way it goes, you know.
Yeah.
That sounds like a record name, man.
Sorry,
Suck and Slade.
I'll sit back here now.
I might write that one down. So, Johnny, mentorship. Have you been exposed to someone who influenced you? And we've got a couple more questions, and then we'll probably wrap it up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, when I was growing up, my father was into rock and roll, so I've been influenced a lot by his music, Bo Diddley, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, the Beatles, Elvis, the Platters, and all that type of stuff. So that was kind of where I was always listening to the beat, that primal rock and roll is basically what kind of got me into wanting to sing. But I always looked up to Greg Doolan out of Wickety Whack, and I had an opportunity to meet Greg. I thought he was just such the most casual performer. Yeah, I'd seen a couple of his gigs, and he's just his timing, and all the rest of it, and what he used to do. And the thing that I've noticed about him the most is that he could take a group of people, say a couple of hundred people, and I've watched a few of his concerts and shows, and just really treat them if they were just a group of friends in his front room. Like, he was just, I just was just spellbound by how easily he and attitudes are contagious. Like, if you're nervous when you're performing, it does drop off into the stage, and then the audience start getting nervous for you too. And he was just so relaxed. He was so funny. so calm. And so he was. I loved watching him perform, and we struck up a little bit of a friendship before he sadly passed away. And he was really just some of the compliments that he gave me about my voice and my singing and the way I treated the audience. And I said, look, I'm just a mimic. I'm just a mimic. I'm basically you're doing what you're doing. You're Greg Doolan. You're going out there and doing gags and dealing with hecklers or whatever it may be. He was just unbelievable. But I also really enjoyed Dennis Knight. Dennis Knight used to work at Brentley's Theatre Restaurant many, many years ago. And I went and saw him when I was about 16. And he was mentored by Johnny O'Keefe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, and we're friends today. And I borrowed a couple of, he would always address his audience after he'd finish a song and he'd say, what do you think of that, teenagers? You're right. Do you want to, and he would do these little gags today. I think he still does that. Where's Mr. and Mrs. Smith? Where are you? Your mum and dad are waiting for you. Hurry up, drink up your milkshakes. And, he's just hilarious. But his voice, he could do Gene Pitney, Roy Orbison, Elvis Presley, Johnny O'Keefe. I mean, so, yeah. And they're old school. I mean, they're like, as we spoke about before, there wasn't any Instagrams or social media platforms back then. And so they're the guys that I kind of look up to. They're just two local guys that I was able to go and watch them perform. But, yeah. And like I said, I'm glad to say that Greg was, we talked a few times, not a lot, but we had a few conversations. His number still sadly is in my phone. And Dennis Knight has come to a few of my shows and I always get him up and we sing Pretty Woman or a Johnny O'Keefe song, She's My Baby or something like that. So
yeah. Both of them are Queensland club legends. They are legends.
Mm-hmm.
They've played to hundreds of thousands of people for decades.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Greg Doolan's nephew was in my band. Amazing drummer. So playing all the prog rock stuff, and I think it's actually got a.
I think we're pretty much all old enough to remember Wickety Whack when they were a group.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, we might do two more questions if that's cool, because I know everyone's very busy. But maybe the next question, we might go the opposite way with Johnny going first. And if that's all right with you, Michelle. So where to now, John? Where to now?
Oh, okay. Well, it's been an extremely distressing time for everybody in the industry, the entertainment industry. That was speaking to Steve about it today. It's your bartenders, your chefs, your agents, venues, contacts, venue managers, and people like Michelle who've run an agency to book
That's
people like myself. Yeah. So it's a very distressing time, and funny enough, we've got a COVID safe gig coming up next Thursday at the Yatla Drive-In, where we're going to be doing about 45 minutes of obviously Killer Queen songs. And straight after our performance, they're going to be showing the Bohemian Rhapsody movie. So that might be our. We were fortunate enough to do about eight or nine gigs at the start of the year, but that'll be one gig that we may do this year, and hopefully, if it all goes back to normal, we'll be gigging again, maybe in October or November. But look what's just happened to Victoria. I saw somebody today on Facebook say, really sad to see this, Victoria. See you in 2025. Wow. It's sad. It's really, really sad. And if that was to happen here, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? So it's got to get to the stage now. I'm trying to find a little part-time job just to sort of, keep paying the bills and all that type of stuff. But yeah, we do have a gig on next Thursday at the Yatla Drive-In. Tickets are still on sale. It's our first COVID safe gig. So that'll be one for the grandchildren. So we can talk about what a COVID safe gig was.
Okay. And then Laura Doolan is now working with Graham from Wickety Whack. The legend lives on. So there you go.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I did see a photograph of that. Yeah.
So thanks, Johnny. And Steve, where to now? Moving forward, with all your expertise. Actually, I do have a question for you. How do you write a SEAL show?
Look, I'll be honest with you. It is difficult because you have to start with what the animals are able to do. And
wow,
in the seal venue at SeaWorld, we only have males. We have 3 different species. and very few of them can interact with each other without wanting to beat the shit out of each other.
Sorry for laughing, but that's kind of funny.
Nature. And also, it's true. It's true. You have sometimes of the year which are incredibly difficult because if they're inbreeding, they don't come to season at the same time. And so it's like being in a nightclub in Surfers, they want to floor at each other. And it's crazy. And so they're trying to compete with who's going to get some action somewhere. And, you know, look out seagulls, look out the pelicans that we've got there, because if they happen to stray on and there's one of the seals loose, it's pretty hairy, man. But then you have to, from what the spine of what you can work with the animals' behaviours and the things that they're able to do, you then have to write a story around that can complement that. So it was a real challenge, and it was one that I loved. I really loved it. And then finding the music to go with it. And I've got some really funky tracks, and I've got some really cool characters.
Anything from Seal?
No, I tried.
Kiss from a Rose?
Yeah, I tried to put Crazy in there. I tried a few other ones, but no, because it's mainly Sea Lion, and the only time Seal was Lion was about Delta Goodrum, but we won't go into that.
Alex the Seal.
But look, it's a lot of fun. It's really cool, and
Ugly Dave,
and
great.
it's organic. It's got to change and it's got to go, and you know, you adapt and you overcome each time with the SEAL trainers, and they say, we can't do this today because so-and-so's completely brain dead because he's got a breeding hair on, and you go, all right, well, let's change this up. So it's very different to doing a normal show that you would do. And at any time, whenever you're working on a show with animals, it's got to be flexible. And that's why you need really good people at the front, because they need to be able to keep the show rolling while the trainer is concentrating on the animals. And that's the big one. You can't then go to the trainer, hey, so what's happening now? Because the trainers are going, shut up, leave me alone. I need to get this animal under control. And that's what happens. So it's awesome. But where to from now? Look, I'm going to be perfectly honest. We open at SeaWorld tomorrow.
Yep.
Am I concerned? Yes, I'm concerned. With what's happening in Victoria, with what's happening with the border closures, with all of that stuff.
Yeah.
We are going to get, at best, the pass holders and ticket holders that have currently got tickets coming in. That means that they will not be spending money within the park. That means that they will be bringing their own stuff in and doing their own thing.
Yeah.
How long can we sustain that with social distancing, provided that people can social distance when they're in a brain dead environment? And I'm going to be honest and say I love the people that come to the theme parks, but once they come through those gates, all of a sudden they're in they're in their own world. And so the rules, funnily enough, they don't feel that they apply when they're in a theme park. And so this is our challenge, is to maybe get, things happening. And yes, people do ask for Mr. Sea Lion, and we go, stand in the queue over there. If you just put your head in the lake 3 times and take it out twice, that'd be great. So thanks, Martin. But so look, I'm concerned. I think there is a second spike coming, and I think that personally, I'm worried about us having to go back into where we were in lockdown, and then come back out the other side after Christmas. And I really hope that doesn't happen. So for those of you that are watching, if you do plan to come, please, please, please be cool. Just do what we need you to do so that everyone, and that means all these guys as well, not just the theme park crew, all these people, just let's get them up and let's all start getting back to normal, whatever normal is going to be at the end of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just gave me.
I'll retire with no.
You just gave me a new appreciation to seeing a live show with animals, thinking that it's all day, every day, Hyundai. But, I didn't even think that an animal would have a bad day and not decide to do backflips today. You know, like it's wow. That's a new appreciation with animals.
Oh yeah. Some of them will stop and sit there and wait for the other animal to come out and not pen, because they're waiting for that other animal to present itself so they can literally beat the shit out of it. And you sit there going,
oh wow!
That'd be a good show.
That's about 400 kilos.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll give you an insight. In the previous show that we did, we don't have kisses in this show, but in the previous show that we did, a sea lion used to give us mouth-to-mouth resuscitation as part of the gag. Now, I can tell you with 100% accuracy, when a 400-kilo sea lion wants to put his tongue in your mouth, it's going in your mouth. You ain't got no choice. I've had more kisses from sea lions than I have from my wife in my entire life.
The same thing happened with Kerry Packer, apparently. That was in his mind. So.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And funnily enough, I've been kissed by Kerry Packer, and it's equally unpleasant.
Oh, wow. So over to Alistair, and we might bring up the way forward, but also about what you mentioned before about what's happening politically and for the arts as well.
Oh, look, on a totally a macro level, I think Australians have to figure out if they are the type of person that cares about the arts. Are they the type of person that wants to care about live performance? Are they the type of person who wants to care about live music? Are they the type of person that wants to see painters and writers and dancers and students of arts in this country? If you are for that, then that's great. If you are against that, then all of the stuff that you've been probably doing during lockdown would never have happened. You're a hypocrite. It would never have happened. I think on a macro level in this country, with the current federal government, there is a war against arts. There is a war against critical thinking. That's my political view on that. If you want me to back it up, I'm happy to talk in a bit more detail about what that is. But we need governments to support things that are related to artistic endeavour. There's been a lot of support for football, and that's great. I love watching football. I've been a member of the Lions. I've seen a lot of footy over the years. There has not been the same level of support for the arts. And it depends what level of measurement you want to use on these types of things. But the arts generates a huge amount of money for this country. And basically, up until today, it's received no support. And it's been devalued. And our theme park performers, artists, yeah, they are. They're on the spectrum of what art is. So anyone who's watching, if you want to decide what to vote on when there's a next federal election, have a think about what this government hasn't done to support the things that you love. The arts.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And the way forward for yourself, are you doing any exciting things?
Look, I'm
maybe Robin or something.
No, Robin, that's long gone. More like, old rooster.
Beef cooking.
Club turkey. Is that a roll? Look, I've been doing some writing. I've been focusing on just building some bass levels for my instrumental playing, guitar, bass. In the last 12 months with the music for Mateship, I've been playing a lot of trumpet. So I'm just trying to maintain my lip, which requires daily practice, scales and up register. It's that artistic discipline, I suppose. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that. And Michelle, way forward. So I saved you to last because you have an entertainment event agency and lots of other things. Are you still there, Michelle? We lose her. Looks like she's in
Frozen.
she's in a Disney film called Frozen.
Yeah.
I know. I think she's getting Botox.
No, no, it looks like she's back.
There she is.
She's back.
So sorry, guys. My phone was dying and it was all like breaking up because my battery had gone completely flat. Sorry.
Sorry, it was
Just had to plug it back.
it was like right. And over to you, Michelle. You're like,
Oh, I was like,
glitching out.
my battery's about to die. I didn't realize it sucked so much of my battery. My apologies. I missed the end of Al's chat about moving forward, so I'm not sure what he touched on, but apologies that I missed that.
being a rock star.
Similar to what we chatted about before, Michelle, just about support on a federal level. And if people are truly passionate about the arts, then they need to support the arts and they need to advocate for the arts.
Yeah, for sure. I think, sometimes I have a little bit of a joke about the situation because I feel like, over the years, a lot of my friends who have worked, whether it's in a trade or, an office job where they're punching out huge hours, if it was a around the table discussion, it would always be like, no, you're so lucky. Like you get to do what you love. Like, it's not even like work because you're so passionate about it and you love it so much. And I sometimes think this whole thing is a final punishment of like, here you go. That's what you get for loving what you do. But anyway, we've sort of had a bit of a joke about that. But I'm totally with Al in the sense that, what have you done in lockdown? Have you, been watching your Netflix shows and, your movies and all the rest of it and listening to music, and none of this would exist if it wasn't for artists. So 100%, we do need the support. And look, we are very lucky to do what we love, but let's just remember that, for example, a gig, like just putting it really simply, what makes up the actual love and the actual part where you're on stage is a very small component of it. And, it is actually work, and there is a lot of work that has to go into things behind the scenes that I don't think a lot of people, and understandably, from the outside, it does look a certain way, but I can assure you there is a lot of work and a lot of hours that go into being an artist, being behind the scenes, being and a lot of hours that people don't appreciate. As Steve was saying, a lot of hours where you're missing time with your loved ones and,
birthday parties.
and where you're waking up, at 11 a.m. because you haven't gone to bed until 3 or 4 in the morning and you've missed half of your day and everyone else is off doing whatever they do. But anyway, look, I feel very blessed to have lived the life that I have and have for so many years been in the industry and forged a career out of it. Yeah. But it is a very difficult time. My family is 2 incomes who rely on the arts. So it's been an interesting time.
Right. That's real. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's very real. Within a day, we both lost 6 months worth of work each. But look, I've watched my husband thrive through this whole situation and turn it around. And
what a
really
champion.
make so much of the situation in the sense that, he worked 2 years on an album and to make the decision of do I release it and potentially it just go nowhere because I can't tour it. When you put your whole heart and soul into a project and then to have something like this happen and not know when you can actually tour it, which is realistically where you through merch and through appearances is where you make any sort of income. So for him to recoup, he's an independent artist as far as that side of things concerned, to recoup the cost of a 2-year project, you need to do a lot of live gigs to make that money back. So he just has to release the album and, and just do it for the love versus any kind of financial reward at the moment. But look, poor us, not, we're lucky. We've, had years of doing this. And if this is the sacrifice of 6 months or whatever, where, thankfully there was some support in the respect that JobKeeper was introduced. And for a lot of us, that has saved us from losing houses and whatever else. So I'm really grateful for that. But the way forward is, I'm not sure at the moment. I'm not sure what the future looks like.
Well, the
for
key
me.
word is uncertainty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to unpack
Yeah.
the word event, and maybe like, are you exploring different kind of events? You know, maybe or online. You know, being plugged into the internet. Yeah.
Yeah, we've definitely been. I'm involved very closely with a lot of event production companies who have moved very much into the virtual world. Unfortunately for me, with entertainment, it's sort of a bit of a challenging one because, you know, obviously they like that live component with the entertainment. So to pre-record it, it's kind of like, not that many people are kind of jumping up and down about doing that at this stage. So definitely been doing a lot of research and so forth. I can only think that when we do come back online, it is our industry that everyone will turn to, you know, post-wars, post the Great Depression, whatever else. Everyone was they had the biggest parties of all time. So I do think eventually we will come back with a vengeance. But for now, it's just, you know, kind of sitting with your hands tied a little bit, but I'm just having a really good time with my family and just enjoying the simple things in life again, which I hadn't done for a while. Going to birthday parties. I went to 2 last week.
I think sorry, go Steve.
Michelle, have you managed to put your kids onto TikTok? Because apparently there's this couple in the States. These kids, I don't know what the hell. I'm only on Instagram. I'm not even on TikTok, and all I see is these bloody Charlie and Dixie.
Charlie D'Amelio.
It's like, Jesus, and I'm like, and you've got
TikTok will be the death of me.
Fuck,
this is my
put
house.
them on TikTok, for Christ's sake. They're making $1 million.
That's my house.
Yeah.
Mine too.
Yeah.
I walk into the kitchen, I'm popping this.
I'm so glad I've got boys. And
Well,
you probably feel the same. Thanks,
Steve,
I
actually joined TikTok. I actually joined it. I'll tell you this. So this is a phenomenon that's happening. So everyone who's on
Michelle's
TikTok,
still doing it.
yeah, Michelle's still going. Don't even have music. So there's more people on TikTok than Facebook and Instagram combined. And so here's the business plan.
Are you for real?
I am for real. So here's the business plan. In 10 years, these people who are 9 years old, they're of the generation of putting money online because they do online gaming and all this kind of stuff and send tips. Like, here, drive your GTA, Grand Theft Auto. I want to see you drive it into a plane and all that kind of stuff. So the whole new platform, like, it hasn't hit Australia yet. So because I was in the States, I went there twice in 1 week, actually, just in January. It's a completely different mindset, and even all through Asia and stuff like that. The next generation are so used to putting money online, like it doesn't even blink. They grew up with an iPad, right? So, yeah. Anyway, I'm just putting it out there that's why I joined. I'm no expert at TikTok. I actually get my sister involved to help me coordinate some dance moves.
Yeah.
With the guitar.
Next level. But my kids watch videos of other kids opening toys and stuff. I just go,
unboxing. Because you know what that is. So this is my little experience of marketing, or maybe it's a little bit bigger. So the actual marketing platform is probably going to become zero, because if you're a provider or a manufacturer, you can go straight to the people who use your product. So influencers have followers of tens of thousands. So if I make, the Batman and Robin pen, I can go straight to this kid who has, 1 million followers and say, hey, make me a commercial. I'll pay you direct. There's no middleman. So the whole business end of it, there's kids who are flipping some like 300K. I'm not joking. You can Google this. They publish it online and through sponsorship. So it's the companies giving the kids who have grown an audience to flip product and open boxes. It's crazy.
But we're talking about really hollow stuff here. We're talking about stuff that is purely based around more consumerism. There is nothing creative about what they're doing.
No.
They are fueling the fucking crashing beast of consumerism. I push back on all of this.
What's that old saying?
And say, there is no batteries, there is no electricity. Tell me a story.
Good work.
Do something.
Oh, you've got to do no technology time. Like we have that rule in our house where it's like you've got here's your time limit, and then it's off. Like dinner table, we sit around, we talk. How was your day? Like otherwise, anyway, that's another whole live stream.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
That's good. But I like what you just said, Alistair. Yeah. But anyway, the only reason I jumped on it is to, I don't know, just see what the hell's going on. I don't understand it, but I'm still learning about it every day.
Yeah.
So,
well, you've got to stay with the times too, don't you?
Yeah, because I think, just like what you said before, Michelle, about, coming through some kink in history. So the 40s, in the 50s, there was an explosion of rock and roll, and cool jazz and all these different genres that just exploded because of everyone being repressed. So last round of points. So on you, Alistair. There we go. Bruce is a legend. So maybe kids will be owned by higher powers too. Well, there you go. So normally I would ask a question, but maybe I just leave it open slather. So maybe any points, I'd like to leave on an inspirational point. So maybe Johnny, if you want to go first, what do you want to share or inspire? Or any other closing comments? I'll just leave it blank canvas.
You're breaking up, Dougie. I'm not sure if I'm the only one that's. Is Dougie good with everybody else?
When my battery was dying.
Okay, so just closing comments, Johnny.
Sorry.
Open slather.
Oh, okay. Well, basically, I just wanted to quickly address the very last time I was on the show, the incident that was just an absolute abhorrent moment for me when we interviewed. We were on the panel with Jodie Joy. I just wanted to extend a very sincere apology to Jodie. It was an extremely bad day, and I'm certainly not making any excuses. I wanted to take full responsibility for the unprofessionalism that took place. I don't want to bring the night down on a downer, but I certainly want to sincerely apologise to Jodie, her friends, her family, and all the people that basically let me know what a dick I was that night. I'm very grateful for Jodie to actually accept my. We had a chat the next day. I rang up and I apologised. She's all class. She's all professional. We're still friends on Facebook, but I just wanted to say I think it would be inappropriate for me not to mention just how sincerely sorry I was about, just an extraordinary dumb thing that happened on that day. So I just wanted to say that to her, and hopefully, if I ever see her face to face, I'll apologise to her again.
You own your dickness, mate. You own it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. He wouldn't have been game enough to pull that out tonight. Not with us three.
Well, that's the thing that Jodie, everybody on the panel here tonight has worked with Jodie, and somebody said to me the next day, "Oh, you should put up something on your Facebook and say sorry." And I thought, it's not genuine, and this is the platform that it happened on, and I apologise to everybody the next day. I apologise to you, Doug, and I think Mouse was on the show and Greg was on the show. And I still feel bad about it. I was out of sorts. Again, I take full responsibility. There's no excuse. And it was just a horrible, horrible day. And I just wanted to make sure that she understands that I'm extremely and sincerely sorry about that. So that's how I want to end the night. Sorry if it's a downer, but I just want to make sure that, as I said, if I see her face to face, she'll get another apology. Probably every time I see her face to face. But it was just a bad day. And we all have them.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for saying that. And we got a couple of
Jodie.
Yeah. Well, and do closing comments for what the theme tonight. So just open slather. Any points about the entertainment industry? Maybe for the future generations, or just anything that's you found relevant.
Oh, look, it's pretty hard to concentrate at the moment. We've the last couple of years we've been full time with Killer Queen. It's been a great run. The Bohemian Rhapsody movie. Every Queen show around the world were like, "Oh, this is fantastic." It was 10 years in the making. Sacha Baron Cohen was supposed to be the lead, and that was really injected all the and tributes. I mean, the Rocket Man movie come out and all that type of stuff. So to hit those highs and now to be sitting here with just absolutely nothing, it's gut wrenching and it's distressing. So the word of the day is uncertain. We have no clue what's going to happen. I just hope to God that. Eventually we are Australia. We live on this island, and hopefully hope that the curve flattens, and then after a while we go back to normal around October and November. But who knows? Everyone's just sort of who knows? It's all the kids are back at school. We're all playing footy again, and there was a 30,000 people protesters at the Black Lives Matter. I thought that might have saved the industry. You know what I mean? Like, people go, well, it isn't that contagious, and maybe we should just go back to normal and trial it. So, yeah, it's hard. I mean, everyone's suffering. It's not just entertainers. There's a lot of other people doing it tough. But yeah, it's a bizarre time. It's an upside down world. I don't know. I've got really nothing to say except I just hope it all goes back to normal soon. That's all I can really. Yeah, I'm in a high risk category because of my lungs. I've got sarcoidosis, a lung disease. So,
oh wow,
I really, I can't do much, because just in case I catch it, and my doctors and lung specialists have said it'll be bad news for you, mate. So I just hope it all goes back to normal. We're all. It's a horrible time. We're all easily triggered. There's a lot of road rage happening at the moment. Everyone's just like, it's angry. So. No words of wisdom from me. I just hope eventually it just goes back to normal, and sooner rather than later.
Okay, thank you, sir. And over to Steve. Closing comments.
Look, I'm cool with everything. Before this all went down, I was in a very dark place personally. This has actually been a really cathartic experience for me. I've been able to essentially hit the reset button personally, which has been great. But one of the things that's come out of this for me is that we've been so focused on us that we've forgotten about us. And I hope that people can one day, sooner rather than later would be awesome, but one day we can all start to focus on the us collective that makes the us individual, great. So that's my thing. I've got two young boys that I see every odd weekend if I'm lucky. My job is to raise two young men. They're turning 5 and 8 next month. They're boys. They're still learning a lot about life and a lot about everything. And what I've learned through myself, I'm now trying to impart on them, which is we're all humans. We're all things. You remember there was that big bullying thing happening with that poor Indigenous kid that was he had dwarfism and that sort of stuff. Well, my boys and I made a pact that we would not be that guy, that we would be the one that if we saw people that weren't having a good time, we would go over to them and sit with them and say, hey, are you all right, mate? Are you okay? Do you need a friend? And I'll be here. I might not be your friend forever, but for right now, if I can help you, I'll be your friend. And so that's what I've extended now through this COVID thing into, with this lockdown, we've all become so self-obsessed with the TikToks, with the Instagram, with everything like this. You look at all the Karens that are happening over in the US especially. So let's stop focusing on us and start focusing on us. And that's my thing. And we as performers, we have that ability to be able to get people out of their bubble and into a wider bubble. And I'm grateful that I get to do that on a daily basis.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing one of your shows that you host. Yeah, that'll be good.
I'm fantastic. I'm really good. Really.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So, Alistair, closing comments.
Look, to all the adults, the big grown-ups that are watching, if you care about the arts, then you need to advocate for the arts and you need to support the arts. Whatever that looks like in the next 6 months, I don't know. It probably means trying to support musicians, dancers, visual artists, writers, in whatever way that you can. If you're a young performer who's interested in theme parks, which was sort of tonight's theme. It was the theme. Yeah, sure was. I would, if I had to distill, 3 decades down into a couple of bites, I'd say, 1, surround yourself with talent. If you're a young person, try and find older people who are very good at what they do and hang out with them and hopefully do the thing that you're trying to do. This applies across the board. Surround yourself with talent and try and soak up what these older people know. So there's point one. Point two, create your own luck. People often say, oh, you're so lucky that this happened. Most of that is bullshit. Most of that luck is hard work and being ready for opportunity. Luck is being ready for opportunity. People say there's an audition on tomorrow and you go, oh, well, I don't have my monologue. I don't have my song. I don't have my script. Well, you're not ready. If people say there's an audition tomorrow and you go, great, I'm ready, and you are creating your own luck. And number three, as we've talked about tonight, be present. Be in the room. Put your phone away. It's not real. It's not real. This is a virtual world. If you're gonna surround yourself with talent, then you have to talk to these older people. Soak up their knowledge and experience and use it for your gain. And, have fun. Yeah, it's 14.
Yes.
Yeah, have fun.
Yeah, well said, Alistair. I really like what you just said there.
Yes.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I think, being ready, because that's another skill set. When I was just at NAM, I went and got to play guitar with some of the gurus that I'm influenced with. And it was amazing to see that if you have that one chance, you got 3 seconds to just show them your A game. Well, you know what? Triple A game. If it doesn't drop, they're next. There's 150 behind you that's ready to go right now. And you just reminded me of a very, very cool jam that I saw happening.
Yeah.
And an artist got pulled up, but he could only do his trick. He wasn't, like sitting in with others.
He wasn't listening.
Exactly.
He wasn't listening. He wasn't present.
Yeah, not active listening. Yeah. So Michelle, closing comment or plural comments.
Look, I think, the guys have really touched on so much in theirs, but probably being the female of the group, this probably seems fitting, but I would probably want to touch...
Did you just assume my gender?
I always wondered. No. So
I have fabulous bosoms.
It was the nude pics you sent through. No, I think what we've talked about sort of the creative aspects and the arts aspects, and obviously work ethic and being present. But I think sometimes what we don't realize as humans, that we're in a situation and we don't realize the impact of personal connection and relationships. So, just sitting here talking today, I've got, 3 men on this panel with me who I've known for so very many years, that I have shared in heartaches, rejoicing, the biggest things in life, of each of them I've shared in those moments, and vice versa. And I think, you underestimate just sitting in a room or sharing a stage with people, the actual impact that you can have on each other's lives in those moments. I mean, you're sharing a passion and a talent and everything else, but you're also sharing your soul, and particularly creatives, we're very, I don't know, we get on a soul level pretty quickly, but, we were all very blessed to have a lot of time together in green rooms, and we would have discussions like this.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of people over in the corner having discussions, nothing like this, but, we were all fortunate enough to talk about the big stuff and the real stuff. And because of that, we are now all sitting together. And I personally have so much respect for these men, and what they've done in their careers individually and their lives. And, I think that's really special. And that has come from theme parks, that's come from a theme park. And I think about those days, and,
Actually,
so, yeah, I was just going to say, I think about those days as definitely some of the most special days of my life. You know, so many laughs, tears, the rest of it. But I thank Movie World for what I managed to obtain from a personal level, as well as what it did for me career-wise. I feel like it was the most incredible training ground, and I'm so blessed to have done that. But also, I thank it for the personal connections that I made and still have in my life now. So that's my little two bobs worth. Always remember the personal
Let's
connection.
face it, it's been on average about 20 years since we all worked together. And we still have things. And Doug, I just want to share something with you. And Michelle, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but early on in my marriage, I suffered with my wife at the time a very tragic loss of an unborn. And not long after, unfortunately, Michelle and her husband Casey went through something similar. And we spoke because we had that connection already as friends, but also we felt what we were going through. And I remember speaking with your husband Casey one night, and he sent me that song that he wrote. And I remember talking to him and saying, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. It was a song that he wrote to his unborn or the child that, he lost, Twinkle. And my little guy, Tic Tac, well, I was saying to Casey, through your art, you were able to do something that I was unable to do.
Yeah.
Because he was able to put something so tragic and make it into something beautiful. And it is a beautiful song. And I really hope he releases it, because it is a beautiful song. But I didn't have the ability to do that through my art, which was comedy.
Yeah.
I can't turn a tragic situation like that into something funny. But the fact that we had grown together, known each other, and we had that connection that Michelle was talking about, allowed us to share an incredible experience together, but apart. And I'm so, to this day, even though we haven't spoken for a while, and we keep in contact through Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. And I don't know, I think you should have shares in Camilla and her caftans, because I think you own all of them. But the fact that after it, this is what I call friendship. There's mateship and there's friendship.
Yeah.
And with each of these three people that are sitting here tonight, via this virtual medium, I can honestly say that if I needed to, and individually, you've been there at certain times in my life when I have needed you, and I can't thank you enough. Pray hands. But it's that connection that we made through our art and through mutual respect of our art and our performance and our ability to express at a soul level and make that soul connection that we have made, that I'm eternally grateful for. So I think that's should have been my closing argument instead of all that other wank.
I think we covered a really nice broad amount of topics in our closing arguments. We had to go for it was good.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say thank you to all of you. If there's nothing else to bring up or say, but I have a record to show you about. I'll show you in the backstage very shortly, because I did here it. I'll just show it now. But anyway, so this record here is called Post Traumatic Express. It's similar to what you're talking about. That's my record. So make sure you see it. There we go. I'll talk to you about it later. But I just want to thank you all. I just want to thank you all for your time, taking your time out and sharing your experiences, and hopefully this will inspire others to follow their dreams, chase that passion, and maybe even support the arts. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So please stay on the line. Please stay on the line. I'm just going to do something, but stay on the line for 20 seconds. Here we go.
Thanks
Thank you, Doug.
That was really cool. Yeah, thanks to Martin and Cassandra especially, who were commenting. Cheers, guys. Good on you.
Yeah, cool.
Well,
Martin.
go to sleep.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. It was a feared musician.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And Bruce, oh, here we go. Bruce,
Yeah.
all the very best. Thank you, Bruce.
Thanks,
And
Bruce.
it's all great
Oh,
shows.
good on you,
everyone.
Emma.
Thanks, Emma. Thank you, Martin.
And
I
there you
can't
go,
hear
Johnny.
you. Okay, no,
It's all
that's
about
fine,
Johnny.
Andrea.
It's all about
Don't worry
Johnny.
about it, Andrea.
Yeah. No worries, Andrea.
No,
We're
just
here
John.
too. Love you.
Yeah,
Whatever.
take care, John.
Yeah.
Well, take two closing ceremony. So please wave. Oh, here we go. Still people talking. Okay. But please stay on the line. Please stay on the line. Here we go. So I just want to say thank you for everyone who watching tonight, and please like and subscribe. Look up these artists. I'll try and tag them. If not, they'll put their credentials in the feed. So make sure you go and support the arts. So as soon as you can, go and see a live gig. And when you go to a theme park, the project of tonight was that expose the people behind it. And I learned something about writing animal shows. Wow, I've learned so much. So anyway, there we go. Love you, Michelle. There we go. And there we go. Excellent. See you later, Steve.